So today we are seeing this very interesting topic, the Bodhisattva's idea in Theravada Buddhism, prophecy of Sumedha, future Buddhahood. We have heard of, right, in Theravada, right, Arahata, Sammasambuddha, but quite rarely we heard of Bodhisattvas, right? So, is there any Bodhisattva's ideal in Theravada Buddhism, right? So this is the things that we want to look at, right? So last month we explored the journey of our Buddha, right? Siddhartha Gautama, who called himself Bodhisattva, who was an unenlightened one, right? And in his quest to become enlightened one, right? So we have seen his awakening, right? His pursuit of awakening was deeply personal pursuit, right? And it was primarily focused on his own realization and liberation, right? So at that stage, there is no clear indications that he concerned for others, right? So yeah, he's just only concerned for himself, right? He is just an ordinary people, right? Who is looking for the enlightenment, who want to find the answer, right? Of why people suffer, okay? And yeah, but we also make a conclusion that the Buddha, right, doesn't mean that after the Buddha's got enlightenment or the Arahat, they lack of compassion. Doesn't mean that they don't have compassion, right? In fact, we have seen that compassion for all beings, that is to say, the concern for others, arose naturally as a result of awakening. Okay, and so the same is also true for the Arahat, right? So you can see that their compassion for all the sentient beings, right, came from a deep wisdom that they attain after enlightenment. Okay, so but we also see another perspective, right, of the Bodhisattvas. That is to say, in the same Pali Nikaya, we find two perspectives of Bodhisattvas. Sanskrit is called Bodhisattva, right? Pali is called Bodhisatta. Yeah, one who aspired for enlightenment, right? So yeah, we have seen last month, right? The Bodhisattvas refer to the historical Buddha, right? Historical Buddha who went through all the hardship, right, on the path of Bodhisattvas. He used to say, well, I was still a Bodhisattva, right? So, yeah, ultimately, through all the hardship, eventually he attained enlightenment, right? So, after his awakening, he dedicated himself to helping all sentient beings for the rest of his life, right, for 45 years. However, in the same Pali Nikaya, we also find a very detailed explanation of the Bodhisattvas. Yeah? It means that we find another story also, same in the Pali Nikaya. But if you look at the Pali Abhidhamma, right, in the Abhidhamma, right, we don't find a detailed exposition of the Bodhisattvas in the Abhidhamma, right? So, and even the commentaries of the Theravada, post-canonical texts, right? And yeah, after the Buddha's passing away, right? After Buddha's passed away, when we talk about after 100 or 200 years of the Buddha's passing away, we find that the Sangha, I think this is quite a natural tendency, right? The Sangha also split into two major schools. One is the Theravada, right? Theravada, Sanskrit is called Theravada. Theravada is very conservative, very conservative. It's a very old school, very conservative, right? Tradition. Then we find also another group of Buddhists, the Sangha, who was very liberal. Right? That is to say, they are very open-minded. They were called the Mahasangika. Mahasangika means the great assembly. So you find the word great means that consists of majority. Theravada, because very orthodox, very conservative, so they are small group as opposed to the Mahasangika, because their approach is very open-minded. So they consist of majority. So yeah, you can see that during this period marks the beginning of the sectarian Buddhism. This is how the Buddhist Sangha split into 18 school or more. Right? So you see, even within our Theravada tradition, within the Theravada school, there are monks, some monks from our Theravada school probably may have been influenced by the Mahasanghikas, the very open-minded group. As a result, we find that in our Pali canonical text, in the Pali text, during that 200 years during that period, we find the elements or the influence or the traces of influence from the Mahasangika. For example, the elaborate account of the Bodhisattas. This includes the stories of the Sumedha, the prophecy of Sumedha's future Buddhahood, right? The story of Sumedha's prophecy by the Buddha Dipankara and his aspiration to become the Buddhas, right? As well as a very long, very comprehensive, very detailed process of completing and perfecting his 10 paramitas, perfection over a long period of time. And also we find a lot of description of the past Buddhas. That's how in the Theravada tradition, you have heard of people paying respect to 28 Buddhas, you see, or more, like 35 Buddhas. So all these things definitely influenced by the Mahayana, or we call it Mahasangika. So we cannot say that the Theravada is a pure Theravada. Probably the tradition. That's why when Buddhism come to Malaysia, because of our Chinese believing, following the Theravada path, probably in the process, we also will bring in the Chinese influence of various kind of bodhisattvas like Guan Yin, like Ishtigarba, Pusa, you see, or Samantabhadra, Pusen Pusa, all these things, brought into our Theravada tradition. You see, okay, all right. Interestingly, that kind of attitude, right, of reluctant to teach, which we find in the Pali text, right, is very unique in our Theravada tradition, right? It doesn't appear in other schools or other branches of Buddhism. We don't find this. So this kind of idea, right? After the Buddha's enlightenment, he was reluctant to teach. That kind of idea is very unique in Theravada Buddhism. But at the same time, also you also find another idea, Bodhisattva's idea, who go through a long periods of perfecting his his paramitas, and to come to this world and to help all the sentient beings. So you find these two different perspectives of bodhisattvas. Okay, so if we look at the Mahayana Buddhism, right? Mahayana Buddhism, they centered around the bodhisattva's idea, right? If you go to Mahayana, they will ask you to observe, right? The bodhisattva's vow, right? And then you have to be a vegetarian, and then you have to bring forth your bodhicittas, right? And then you have to, help sentient beings, life after life, life after life. right? So you can see that Mahayana Buddhism, they emphasize, right, the the Bodhisattva's ideal, right? And to perfect your Mana talk about the 6 parameters, yeah? 6 perfection, right? So for the benefits of all sentient beings and eventually, right, achieving the Buddhahood, right? Not just only for your personal liberation, but to help others. So this is very typical Mahayana. But even within the Theravada school, right? I have said probably some monks were influenced by the Mahasanghikas. As a result, right, we find the traces of of this Mahayana influence, right, in our Theravada Pali canonical text, right? Especially the descriptions of the Bodhisattva's path, right? So this is what we are going to discuss, right? For example, the prophecy made by the Buddha Dhammapala with regard to the Sumedha, future Buddha. You know the Sumedha, the present Gautama Buddha. Yeah, his past name is called Sumedha, right? Yeah, and his aspiration to become the Buddhas, and then he has gone through all a long journey of perfecting the 10 parameters. So we are going to look at, these stories. Okay, so we find that during the sectarian Buddhism, right? Yeah, this was a period very rich in the philosophical development, right? And of course, you find that during these periods, different schools also evolve, right? And giving various interpretation of different doctrinal teaching. Definitely, the Bodhisattva's idea was one of such evolution during this sectarian Buddhism. Okay. Yeah, this one is from the Chakravarti Suttas of Digha Nikaya, right? Chakravarti. Chakra means the wheel, right? Vati mean turning, wheel turning sutta. Wheel turning sutta. Yeah, this one is found in the Digha Nikaya. And then in these suttas, there is a mention of the future Buddha. Okay? Who is the future Buddha? Is a Maitreya, 弥勒佛, 弥勒菩萨, okay? Yeah, or Maitreya in the Sanskrit. But it's a very short description. Yeah? If the future Buddha was very, very important for us, they might have a lot of description, but surprisingly, there's only one short description. Right? It says that Maitreya Bodhisattvas will appear in the world to become the Maitreya Buddha when human lifespan reaching 80,000 years. Okay, such a description. Imagine that now the average human being only about 80 or 100. Imagine when human being reach 80,000 or mana boleh or that is a long time. Yeah. Okay, but anyway, they talk about our future Buddhas now residing in the Tushita heaven, right? And then this one also raised a very interesting question, which in Pali there is no answer. Okay, when you talk about our present Buddha, right, Gautama Buddha, he was prophesied by the Dhammapala long times ago. Then how about our future Buddha? Future Buddha, right? Is there any prophecy of the Maitreya Buddha in the Pali canonical text, right? So this is also something is interesting that we will also look at it towards the end. This photo, this one is from the Burmese from the Afghanistan. When this statue was destroyed in 2003, and it's a Maitreya Bodhisattvas. It's a Maitreya. You can see that at that time, people really look for the future Buddha. The myths. So, okay. Sometimes when we look at it, we have to know a little bit of the history. Yeah, the origin of early thought of Bodhisattva's path. Right? So we know that after 200 years of the Buddha's passing away, right? The Sangha, you look at the Sangha, right? Split into two main schools. One is Theravada, another one is Mahasanghika, right? The Theravada is very conservative, very orthodox, okay? And then the Mahasanghika, large assembly, yeah, they are very liberal, very open-minded, okay? Yeah, of these two main branches can be further divided into 18 or more sub-school, different branches. So during this period, it's called the sectarian Buddhism, right? The era of sectarian Buddhism. So during this period, after the Buddha's passing away, up to about 1st century AD, during this period, you see, we find a wide range of philosophical argument, discussion, or interpretation of the Buddha's doctrine start to evolve, right? So one of the key development was definitely the evolution of the Bodhisattva's ideal. Okay, yeah, and then these are the sources we find definitely influenced by the Mahasanghika, like the Mahapadana Suttas, right? 大比喻经 Mahapadana Suttas. This Mahapadana Sutta is a long discourse that record the life of the 6 past Buddhas. Okay, and then you also find the Buddha Vamsa. Buddha Vamsa is from the Khuddaka Nikaya, right? Buddha Vamsa means the chronicles of the Buddhas, who talk about the lineage of 24 Buddhas who came before Gautama. So you find slowly, some of these suttas start talking about the past Buddhas. Even before the Buddha also, there were many past Buddhas also, right? And then we found the Jataka 本身经故事, right? Which contain 550 stories, okay, of the Bodhisattva's past life, right? After making an exploration, want to become a Buddha. So he go life after life, perfecting his practices, okay? And we also find in the Charya Pitaka, right? 佛所行赞就是所行赞经. Okay, here talking about 35 Jataka stories, right? So we find that all the Jataka stories somehow tied to one of the 10 perfection. You see, yeah. You see, after the Buddha's passing away, we find that among disciples, they have this a sense of a sense of longing, right, or devotion, right, towards the Buddha, the historical Buddha, right? And you see, during these periods, because they lost because so they said that after the Buddha's passing over, there is this spiritual need, right, to feel the absence of the Buddhas, right? So that's how some say during these periods they evolve the idea of Maitreya Buddha, right? So to feel your spiritual the gap, right? They said that don't worry, we have our future Buddhas. Okay, our future Buddhas now, right, is in the Tushita heaven. So you see, this kind of idea represents the assurance of the continuity, right? Even the Buddhas, our present Gautama Buddha passed away, but the future Buddha is also coming. Okay, so no need to worry. So yeah, okay, so you will be assured, right? The next Buddha will come and continue save us. You see, so I mean, this is how I look at it. Yeah? So during that period time, not much you find the Gautama Buddha, but the Maitreya sculptures slowly also evolve at that time. Yeah, yeah. So this is something very interesting, isn't it? Okay, and Yeah. So one of the significant stories that come from the Buddha Vamsa, right? Chronicle of the Buddha, that we hear of Sumedha, the name of Sumedha. The Sumedha, he was a hermit, a hermit, who met the Buddha Dipankara a long time ago, and moved by the meeting, right, with the Dipankara Buddha, right? Sumedha was inspired, right, and he made a great aspirations that to become a Buddha, right? So, in response, the Dipankara Buddha, he prophesied that this Sumedha, the young hermit, right, he would indeed one day become enlightenment. So we can see that from that moment onward, mark the beginning of the Sumedha's path as a bodhisattva. So life after life, and eventually become the Buddhas. Right? Of course, in Theravada, become bodhisattva is very different from Mahayana. Mahayana, you have to bring forth the bodhicittas, but for Theravada, it's very different, right? You said that you have to fulfill these 8 conditions, right? We will look at it. What are these 8 conditions, right? So, you want to be a bodhisattva, you have to fulfill these 8 conditions. Doesn't mean that Theravada don't have the bodhisattva. We have bodhisattva, but that becoming a bodhisattva is very different. You have to fulfill these 8 conditions, right? Then only you will become bodhisattvas. If not, then you cannot be a bodhisattva. So you see, after you make an aspiration, right, to become the Buddhas, after becoming a bodhisattva, you have to go through a long period of time. Right? How long? They said it's a 4 asamkhya, 阿僧子劫, like what they call incalculable, 就是无量阿僧子劫, eons, and 100,000 eons, long periods of time. So we find that the Sumedha Bodhisattvas, he perfected the 10 perfection paramitas over that long periods of time, and eventually, he returned to this world and become the Buddha. Okay? Yeah, and become the Gautama Buddha. Okay, so again, you see this kind of story is very different from our last discussion. Our last discussion is very different, right? Buddha is like you and I, right? It's just only, he go through all kind of hardship. Even he encountered a lot of fears also, right? Eventually, he become the Buddha. And after becoming Buddha, also he reluctant to teach. Okay, because that the sentient being can understand his teaching. He feel more also. So he doesn't want to go out and preach. But because of the request from the Brahma Sampati, he surveyed the world. There are beings still can enlighten. So that prompted him, to start. That is of course his compassion. But in another part also, it is Sutta Nibbana. There is a detailed account of the final birth of the Gautama Buddha. That is to say, the Buddha has completed, perfected the 10 paramitas. Okay, so in his final birth, he came to this world, okay, with a mission of benefiting, for the benefit and happiness of all sentient beings, right? That is to say, as a result of his long periods of cultivation. Okay, so we find quite a very different story, even in the same Pali Nikaya, right? And the story goes like this, and you look at the pictures. It said that after the birth of the prince Siddhartha, right, the Gautama Bodhisattvas, his father, right, King Suddhodana, he invited a very renowned hermits named Ashita. Okay, Ashita. And Ashita came and visit his son. At first, Ashita looked at his son. He saw his newborn son, right, having these 32 great marks of a great man on the child's body, right? These 32 great signs that foretold a profound destiny. He should become the Buddha. But later on, this Ashita, he was well up, the eyes, crying, and later on he began to sigh deeply. Right? Suddenly he was very happy, and later on he cried. You see, so his father, right, King Suddhodana, after seeing this incident, he became very alarmed. Why like that? And he asked him. He said, "Why, Ashita, right? Venerable Ashita, when you arrived, you said that my son having such a great man feature, but now you look so sorrowful. Why you look so sad? Why you weep, right? And why do you cry, right? So please tell me, what's wrong with my children? What's wrong with my son?" Yeah. So then this Ashita, the hermit, told, replied, right? He said, "Oh, king, right? I was weeping not because I sorrow, right? It's because I will not see these children. Okay, when you grow up, yeah, because he was already very, very old, right? Already 90 years old. Yeah? So he know that he would not be staying long in this world, right? To see him attain full enlightenment, right? So I would not be able to listen to his teaching. That's why he was, sighing, like that. So you see, the king also asked, because the king also very kanchiong, so much worry, you see. They said, "Will my son really become the Buddha, or really become a monk?" Right? Because he is the only successor for the king, right? So he said, "Will my son become a monk? You see, will he truly become a Buddha?" You see, so that kind of idea. Then Ashita answered. He said, "Oh yes, oh king, your son, right, coming to this world is his final rebirth. Okay, and his appearance, his coming to this world is for the benefits and happiness of all mankind, right? So he will certainly become a Buddha." He was very sure, right? He was very sure. So you can see that this kind of Bodhisattva's idea, right, described now, right, is very different from earlier what we have discussed, right? That the Bodhisattva's practice is solely for his own liberation, right? So you can see that this kind of idea, because of the influence of the Mahasangika Mahayana, it introduced a very broader vision. That is to say, a very compassionate vows to help all sentient beings. Okay. All right. Now we look at this condition. Yeah, in Theravada, right, Buddhism, not anyone can become a bodhisattva. So there are these 8 conditions that must be fulfilled, right, in order to become bodhisattvas. Right? So one of the key requirements is the individual, right? A person must be a man, okay, a human being, right? And then he must be a male person. All right, and he also continues saying that before receiving a prophecy or Buddhahood from a living Buddha, right? Such a person, right, could very well be capable of attaining arahantship in that very life, right? It means that that person must be capable listening to the Buddha, he was able to become Arahantship, but because he doesn't want to become Arahant, he wants to become the Buddha, right? Because of his strong aspiration to become the Buddhas in the future. So he deliberately give up the chance for Arahantship. Okay, so this is the third one. Then another essential requirement, right, is that he must meet in person with a living Buddha. It's difficult, no? Now we don't have living Buddha, so we cannot be a Bodhisatta. So better keep quiet. You have to meet with a living Buddha. Okay. Then another one is that being an ascetic who believe in the law of karma, or being a member of the community of bhikkhu during the dispensation of a Buddha. Okay. Then also it talks about being endowed with jhana, attainment, and higher spiritual power, right? Yeah. So you must have attained, 4 jhanas. Huh? It means that jhana here refer to a very deep, what they call the meditation, absorption, right? And or even to acquire a higher spiritual power, such as see, his past life, right? Or developing the divine ear, this kind of spiritual power. And then of course, intense effort to develop one perfection without regard to one's life. Okay, so you can see that he made a lot of effort, right? Even to the point of risking his own life, right, out of devotion to the path of the Buddhahood. 可以牺牲自己的生命 right? Yeah. And then the last one, it means that the wholesome desire is strong enough to inspire the Buddhahood. Okay, so it means that he has to make a very firm resolution, right? A vow to develop a great compassion, for the benefits of all the sentient being, right? Okay, so now we look at it. This is how the story goes in the Buddha Vamsa. The hermit Sumedha, if you look at this picture, who was the former life of the Siddhartha Gautama, right, the future Buddha. Yeah, he once prostrated before the Buddha's Dhammapala, right? Just look at the pictures there, and he made a powerful aspiration to become a Buddha himself. But he said, if I so desire, this very day I can become an Arahant in whom the defilements are exhausted and mental defilements removed. But does it profit me to realize the fruition for Arahantship and Nibbana as a disciple in the dispensation of the Buddha's Dhammapala? So I will exert my utmost for the attainment of omniscient Buddhahood. Okay? Yeah, so this is. So he went on to say that, what is the use of selflessly escaping the cycle of birth alone? Right? In spite of the fact that I'm a superior person, fully aware of my prowess of wisdom, faith, and energy. I will strive for attainment of omniscient Buddhahood and liberate all beings, including devas, from the cycle of birth, right? Which is a sea of suffering. Okay, so this is, he was inspired, right, to become the Buddha after seeing the Buddha Dhammapala. So you must meet in person a living Buddha, right? One of the conditions to become a Bodhisattva. Okay, so this is how the Sumedha's act of resolution, right? So he made a firm resolution. How is that? In Pali it says, Imina me adhikarena, katena, varisutame, saban nyutang papunitua, taremi janatang bahu. Okay, so this is a Pali. The aspiration is like this. He said, as the fruit of this great meditation is done by me for the sake of this omniscient Buddha, even without regard even for my life, may I, having myself attain omniscient Buddhahood, be able to save multitudes of beings. So he is making such a profound vow, right? Resolution. Yeah. So you see, after making that kind of resolution, he was no longer a hermit, a sheep, the Sumeda. You see, it means that from there onward, after making that aspiration, he became Sumeda Bodhisatta. So this is how he got the title, Sumeda Bodhisatta. No more Sumeda hermits, but Sumeda Bodhisatta. It means that once you determine, right, to save all the sentient beings, right, you are destined to become the Buddha. So Sumeda, he become the Gautama Buddha, right, after going through a long periods of time of 4 Asankhya kalpas, right, and 100,000 years of perfecting his perfection. Okay. All right. It's also interesting. It said, you see the Buddha, Dipankara Buddha, right, in front of him, right, saw the Sumeda. Sumeda. He possessed all these qualities, right, the 8 conditions. So he approached him, right, and then he's standing near to the Sumeda, right, and the Buddha Dipankara, he used his extraordinary psychic power to look at the Sumeda's future, right, to see whether Sumeda's aspiration to become a Buddhist would fulfill or not. Okay, so this is how. So he made 9 verses prophecy. And so he delivered his prophecy in 9 verses. After the prophecies, in 9 verses. So we look at the first 3. He said, this Sumeda, the hermit, will become an enlightened one among Brahmins, Devas, and human beings after innumerable eons. To be exact, 4 Asankhya and 100,000 eons from now. So you see, the Buddha Dipankara, he was able to see at the Sumeda's future, right? And after this prophecy, right? Not only 1, but 9, okay? So 1 is definitely become the enlightened one, okay? And the second one is that on the threshold of his Buddhahood, okay? It means that when coming near, right, to his of his enlightenment, the Sumeda will renounce the world, leaving behind the marvelously delightful city of Kapilavastu. He will then devote himself to meditation and perform strenuous austere practices. Okay, even this thing also predicted, right? And then another one is that while staying under the banyan tree called Ajapala, it means that the present Bodhi tree, he will accept the offering of milk rice and go towards the river Neranjara. Okay, so all these things also predicted. Okay, so all these things all materialized and prophesied. And we look at number 4. When his attainment of Buddhahood is drawing near, he will partake of the milk rice on the river bank and approach the Bodhi tree by the path well prepared by Devas. Okay, so he partake the milk rice offered by the Sujata. Okay, because because after taking, cleansing, his body and the Naranjara, right, he regained. So after taking this milk, right, he regained his strength. So all these things also prophesies. And then the fifth one, as he reached the Bodhi tree, which will be the site of attaining enlightenment, he go round it clockwise. He will turn from south, right, to west, from west to north, and then from north to east, thus becoming a supremely enlightened one with none to excel him, and his fame spreading far and wide. Then, having seated himself at the foot of the Bodhi tree, he will gain insight, knowledge of the Four Noble Truths. Okay, so what he discovered under the Bodhi tree, he discovered the Four Noble Truths, right? Or more correct, more precise to say, he discovered the truth of suffering and the cessation of suffering. Okay, and of course he discovered the cause of suffering, right? And he also discovered the path to the cessation of suffering. Okay, yeah. And look at number 6. It says that the mother of this Buddha will bear the name Maya Devi. The mother's name also correct, and father's name will be Suddhodana. The Buddha will have the name called Gautama. Wow, 真正准哦. It's so accurate, all prophesied. Because this Buddha Dipankara, he has that psychic power, even to look at the Sumeda's future. Okay. Then 7, he says the pair of his chief disciples will be Kolita and Upatissa, who will be free of mental intoxicants, asava, and attachment, and who are of calm heart and profound mental concentration. The monk Ananda, by name, will wait upon this Buddha as an attendant. So even Ananda as an attendant also prophesies. Right? And then his 2 chief disciples. And then also, the female chief disciple also mentioned, Kema Theri and Upalavanna Theri. Okay? Who are of calm heart and profound mental concentration, will become the pair of female chief disciples. And also the fig tree, the ficus religiosa, asatta, it means the Bodhi tree, will be the Buddha's Bodhi tree under which he attains an enlightenment. And the 9, the Chitta and Hatha Lavaka, they will be the foremost female lay attendant. Okay, yeah, so all these things are all clearly mentioned. Okay, so you see, but I think they are common, both Mahayana and Theravada. That is to say, the Bodhisatta has to be driven, by the compassion and the noble aspiration to help all the sentient beings. Right? Even the Theravada, the same thing, right? So, yeah, Mahayana talk about the bodhicitta. Why you have to bring for the bodhicitta? Because you want to help all the sentient beings, right? It is, of course, this is Mahayana, that they said that it is only when the bodhicitta is developed, right, that the motivation to achieve Buddhahood will truly arise. Mahayana talk about Buddhism. You see, nowadays you look at Theravada country, right? Yeah, there is a very little discussion of the Bodhisattva's part, right? But we find, right, in the Pali Suttas, right, the Bodhisattva's ideal, right, Bodhisattva ideal was found, right? And definitely this idea was influenced by the Mahayana or Mahasankhikas, or Yeah, interesting also. You find in the Visuddhimagga. You know the Visuddhimagga? A very important text of the Theravada, right? Composed in Sri Lanka during 4th, 5th century by Buddha Ghosha. If you look at that Visuddhimagga and the concluding statement, the colophon, the concluding statement, Visuddhimagga, Buddha Ghosha, he summarized, his what do you call the teaching. He summarized, but this one only found in the singular version. And then in this singular version, the Buddha Ghosha, he said, in the future life, he, right, referred to the Buddha Ghosha, he also wants to aspire to be reborn during the era of the Maitreya, the Bodhisatta, the future Buddhas. He wants to see him. He wants to become his disciple, right? Become the Buddha, Maitreya disciple, and then to attain arahatship. It's interesting. I don't know whether this one is added by the latest scholars or what, but somehow we find in the Visuddhimagga, at the colophon, the concluding remark, that the Buddha Ghosha, right? He wants to be reborn during the era of the Maitreya Buddha, to be his disciple, to listen to his teaching, and to attain the arahathood also. Okay? Yeah.
Bhante, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Is the Buddha Dipankara, is it the Buddha right before our current Buddha?
No, it's the first Buddha.
Oh, it's the first Buddha.
Before him, I don't know.
Then the other question is Bhante. The other question is about the Four Noble Truths. It's actually by Gautama Buddha, this Four Noble Truths, or early Buddha already know about the Four Noble Truths?
Yeah, every Buddha will discover the Four Noble Truths.
Oh, I see.
Even the future Buddha also will discover the Four Noble Truths. Okay. Yeah. Okay, their story is more or less the same. Okay. Okay, now continue, right? They are just very short. In fact, the sutta is very long. We choose some very interesting. And okay, now you talk about the Sumedha. Sumedha, he was already a bodhisattva. So he was filled with joys. After the the prophesied by the Buddha Dipankara, and of course, they are encouraging messages from the devas. And then when they all depart, when they left, right, the Sumedha, he himself reflected. He said, Buddha are not speakers of ambiguous words, nor are they given to speaking to fertile things. Never have their words proved wrong. Surely I will become a Buddha. So he was very sure now. Okay, because Buddha Dipankara has assured that now you will become the Buddha. So he thought, this Buddha will never speak wrong, right? So without doubt, he confirmed, I will become a Buddha. All right. So reflecting on this similes, Sumedha was very certain that he would definitely attain Buddhahood, right, in accordance with the Buddha Dipankara prophetic word. And he thought to himself thus, well, I will make a thorough search in the basic principle, right, in all the 10 directions for the conditions of the attainment of the Buddhahood. Okay? So you see, with this in mind, he began to study the factors that lead to the Buddhahood. So what we call this is called the Buddha Garadharma, right? So we will look at these 10 parameters step by step, right? So he examined one by one, right? So these are the factors that lead him to Buddhahood. Okay? So he investigating the parami now. So he because he said he wants to become a Buddha now. So he has to investigate what are the practices that lead to the attainment of the Buddhahood. Then, right? Then the first one, the Dhammapala. So you have to accumulate the giving, right? The perfection of generosity. Yeah, this Dhammapala means that you have to cultivate a selfless attitude by giving. Of course, this is just English, a general understanding of dana. You have to practice the giving, a selfless attitude of giving, right? Without expecting anything in return. Giving, just giving, okay? So as you practice giving also, right, you are practice the detachment, isn't it? Okay, yeah, because all right. So what he said is that Sumedha, right? If you wish, he asked himself, if I wish to attain the knowledge of the path, fruition, and all-knowing knowledge, you must first cultivate the parameters of generosity continuously in order to bring it to perfection. Okay, so here the example is given, right? He said, just like a jar full of water is turned upside down, and all the water in it flows out without any remaining. So in the same way, Sumedha, you should give to all sentient beings, regardless of the top, middle, and bottom, right? Give them all. Nothing remain for yourself. So easy, huh? People give those extra one. But this is Sumedha. He investigated. He said, I really have to practice the Dhammapala. Dhammapala. Okay, now after investigating the Dhammapala, then he said, this Dhammapala may not enough, right, to become the Buddha. There must be some other factors as well that lead to the Buddhahood. So he said, I need to continue searching. Then he come to the second one. I have to continue to perfect the morality. Okay, so it's called the Sila Parami. So this Sila Parami was the second parameters. So he said, Sumedha, if you want to realize the knowledge or to become the Buddhahood, you must continuously cultivate the morality so that you can reach perfection. Right? The example is given. In fact, there are many examples. I just only quote one. They say if the tail is caught, the yak will spare no effort to protect his tail and would rather die than hurt the tail due to struggle. You understand? Just as a yak protects its tail and the cause of its life, you must constantly guard your precept. Okay? 就是为戒而死 okay, not even to transgress, right? You even sacrifice your life, not to transgress the precepts, okay? Okay, so this is the third one, the second one. Then the third one is talking about the Dhammapala, right? They continue to reflect. Yeah, the former two parameters, dhanas, and the Sila parameters, can't be the whole stories, right? There must be other factors that lead to the Buddhahood, right? Then he keeps searching, right? Then he got to know the third one, Dhammapala, right? He discovered that the renunciation was the third parameters practiced by all the Bodhisattvas before him. Yeah, you can see that all these things are practiced by the ancient Bodhisattva or ancient Buddha. Basically, they are more or less the same, right? And what is a nekama? Nekama renunciation. Nekama is like letting go. Letting go, renunciation of sensual pleasure, or letting go of the worldly attachment. Right? So that you can focus on your inner peace and liberation. Okay, so this is called the renunciation. Yeah, basically you are getting rid of all the sensual pleasure. So that you have so once you get rid of all these things, right, then you have more time for your own inner concentration and inner cultivation, right? And the fourth one is talking about the Panya Parami, right? Wisdom. Then the same thing also, you continue to reflect. You said, Dana, Sila, Nekama, right? These three can't be the full picture, right? There must be other factors also lead to the attainment of Buddhahood. Then he continues searching. The Panya Parami. Okay, so this is how he got the fourth Parami, right? So what is Panya Parami? I mean, in short, Panya means wisdom, right? It means that Panya also can mean insight into the Four Noble Truths, right? Or you can also mean develop insight into the nature of reality, right? Particularly the permanent, non-self, and the suffering, anicca, dukkha, anatta, right? Yeah. So this is how you develop. Okay. So continue. Same thing also, right? After investigating, the dana, sila, nekama, panya, cannot be. This is not the. There must be some other factors also, right? Need to be fulfilled to attain the Buddhahood, right? Then he continued to investigate. He got the fifth one, Virya Parami. The very mean the effort or energy or vigor, right? So it means that you have to putting forth a lot of effort, right? In all your wholesome action. Especially in the practice of the Dhamma. Particularly here, probably here refer to the 37 factors of enlightenment. We have to put effort in our practice. So put in a lot of effort. So, but he said, I still need to continue looking at it. After looking at this fine, and said that it may not be a full picture of it to become the Buddha. So there must be many other factors as well, right? To fulfill, right? In order to become the Buddha. Then he discovered that, there is also another one. It's called the Kanti Parami. And what is this Kanti Parami? Kanti means Zhenju, forbearance. Forbearance. It means that you have to be cultivate the tolerant, the endurance, right? And what else? Zhenju, and even the forgiveness, right? In the face of challenges or people who criticize you, right? Insult you, or in the times when you suffer. Is it? So this is Kanti Parami. Or even people start criticizing you. You have to practice the Kanti. So this also can overcome anger also, the resentment also. That's how we saw the renunciation. That is to oppose the desire. But this Kanti is to oppose the anger. You see? So you see, the Sumedha Bodhisatta, he was investigating one by one. Is it enough? With the dana? Not enough. Sila? Not enough. Okay? And what else? Nekama renunciation? Not enough. Panya? Not enough. Energy? Not enough. The Kanti? Not enough. There must be other factors as well. So you see, the Sumedha, he investigate one by one. Then he continue. Investigate. Then he realized, the Satch Parami is also another factors, right? To attain the Buddhahood. The Satcha means the truthfulness. Truthful. It means that you have to be truthful, right? In your speech and your action, right? It means that you have to live very honestly and integrity. 讲了就要做的那一种，so it's very truthful. Of course, this is to oppose the falsehood, then he was searching, is it enough? No, I don't think enough, right? So he continued to explore, right? Then he said that, in order to become the Buddhahood, I have to perfect another very important one. It's called the Adhitthana Parami. Adhitthana here means the resolution or determination. 决意. It means that you are developing a strong resolution, right? Or unwavering commitment to your spiritual growth. I will not give up in my practice, no matter how difficult it is, right? So you are making a very unwavering commitment in your spiritual path. Yeah? You will never, give up. Okay? It means that, So, were they enough to become the Buddhahood? The Buddha said, the Sume and the Bodhisatta said, 好像还不够啊，还不够啊 because you have to fulfill all qualities in order to become the Buddha, right? He thought having these 8 qualities may not enough, okay? So he continued to investigate, explore, right? Then he discovered that, Metta Parami. Metta Parami. This Metta, we know that it's loving kindness, right? When you talk about the Metta Parami, you have to cultivate unconditional love, right? And goodwill towards all sentient beings, okay? Without bias. Yeah, this is also to oppose the anger also. Yeah, so that's why, this is also very important, that's why in the Mahayana temple, the very first, in front, you step in the temple, you will first see the, 那个叫弥勒佛,弥勒佛 they smile at you, Anybody come to the temple, the very first thing you see will be the statues that sitting right in front of you and smile at you. Okay, the radiant and loving kindness. Then, the Sume, the Bodhisatta, he said, will this be enough for me to attain Buddhahood? Okay, so he was, investigating. It may not enough. Then he looked for another one. Okay. That's why the Buddha is so easy, yeah? Then he said, we must cultivate the Upekkha Parami. Okay, Upekkha Parami. This Upekkha, the Upekkha. Upekkha is like equanimity, right? Upekkha, equanimity. So we have to develop a very balanced, right? And a very impartial mind. Very, very, whether you are success or failure, right? Develop a kind of balanced state of mind. So he was reflecting here. So this is how he discovered that these 10 parameters, right, are essential, right, for his attainment to the Buddha. You see, Buddha put a lot of effort, investigate one by one. When these are enough for his attainment, right? So, so you see, like the Theravada, even Mahayana also the same thing, right? Bodhisattva. You see, this Bodhisattva's path involved a lot of training, right? Perfecting all your paramitas, parami, over many lifetimes. Okay, it's a very long time, right? So he studied one by one, and these are 10 essential qualities needed to attain the Buddhahood. Okay, now we look at the Mahayana and Theravada, both having this Bodhisattva's idea, right? The Bodhisatta, this is a Pali word. Bodhisattva, this is a Sanskrit word. Okay? Yeah. So we have since said the Theravada, right? For Theravada, to become a Bodhisatta, right, you have to fulfill the 8 conditions. It's not easy. Nowadays we don't make an aspiration because we don't have the living Buddha. 缺一不可, right? You have to fulfill all the 8 conditions, right? But if you look at the Mahayana said everyone can become a Bodhisatta. Okay? Provided you develop the Bodhicitta. Bodhisi. Bodhicitta means the awakened mind. So then same thing also over a long period of time, right? You have to you cultivate what they call it 四弘誓愿, the 4 great vows over a long period of time, and of course to complete the 6 parameters, 6种波罗蜜, and finally you will attain the Buddhahood. Right? So the way is everyone can become the Bodhisattva. That's why in Mahayana they have this Bodhisattva's vow for the monk as well as for the lay people also. 所以你们也可以人称菩萨
Bhante, out of curiosity, 想问一下他的 Bodhisatta vow 是 for lay people 是什么？Mahayana 的。
现在没时间讲。Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, we look at the last one, Yeah, we come back to the first question, right? Come back to the first question. Is there any prophecy in the Pali Suttas about Maitreya being foretold by a living Buddha to become a Buddha? Actually, there is no record in the Pali Suttas, right, of a living Buddha prophesying the Maitreya, the Buddha's, the future Buddhahood. No. Yeah, the only mention of Maitreya in the Pali Canon is the one I show you, right, in the Chakravarti Suttas of the Buddha, the Maitreya Bodhisattas now living in the Tushita heaven, right? Yeah, but there is no prophecy of a living Buddha about his future enlightenment. Okay. However, in one of the Chinese Madhyama Agama, Zhong A Han, okay, in the sutta called discourse spoken by the Buddha on the past and the future time, 就是中文佛说古来世时经, right? So in these suttas, there is descriptions of Maitreya being prophesied by the Buddha Gautama. It means that our Buddha Gautama, right, also met future Bodhisattva, future Maitreya. Okay, so yeah, it says that you see in these suttas, this 中文的啦, the Buddha said in future time when human lifespan reach 80,000 years, right, there will be a wheel-turning king, 转轮圣王, 世王, okay, will arise. Okay, so this king will renounce the world and attain liberation. Then at that time, okay, while Buddha speak this, taught this, then a monk called Maitreya, okay, yeah, he says called Maitreya, he will stand up and respectfully express his aspiration in front of the Gautama Buddha that he wants to become the future Buddha Maitreya. Okay, but this one is not found in Pali Canon, but it's found in the Chinese Madhyama Agama. So of course Buddha prays him like Buddha Dipankara prays the Sumedha, right? So the Buddha Gautama prays this Maitreya, right? Prays him for his aspiration, right, to become the Buddha, and also predict the Maitreya, right, that he will indeed become the future Buddha called Maitreya Buddha. Then in that context, the Buddha tell Maitreya that in the future, right, when human lifespan is 80,000 years, right, he will become the Buddha known as the Maitreya Buddha. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I think this is almost end of our discussion. But anyway, I want to just only to make a remark. Why these bodhisattvas become very important after the Buddha's passing away? Because there is a sense of loss among the disciples of the Buddha, okay, who have not yet enlightened. Right? They felt the loss, so they missed the Gautama Buddha, of course, right? And because of this, then there was a need to provide hope, right, and assurance that the lineage of the Buddha would continue. So this is how the Bodhisattvas, Maitreya's came in, right, as a future Buddha who will continue the tradition, yeah, of awakening. And he please the devotees, the disciples of the Buddha who have not yet enlightened, that our present Maitreya Bodhisattvas now is in the Tushita heaven. When? Until human lifespan reach 80,000 years. Okay, so that assures the continuity of the lineage of the Buddha. So this is found in the Buddha vows, the chronicles of the Buddhas, right? So you know, in that sutta is also saying there is no need to despair, no need to be sad, right? So you see, these suttas give a kind of assurance, guarantee that someone is now on the way to help us. Okay. Okay, so this is mark the end of our discussion today. Sadhu, sadhu.